This is an engine from a CBR, over 20 years old. As for this assembly video, the cylinder had actually already been bored out before, so this time it needs to be rebored again. The owner's expectations aren't too high. After all, this engine's age is what it is. This oil nozzle here was swapped with one from a parts bike. As you all know from last episode's teardown video, it was because of this oil nozzle. It broke off and clogged up, and as a result the oil supply failed, which led to a loss of oil pressure. And then the cylinder scored. As for the crankshaft and connecting rod, we bought used parts. Since it's a flood-damaged bike anyway, it's not really road legal now. What the owner wants is just for it to start and sound right. Enough to take a couple of laps around the village. After all, this bike has been with him for so many years. As for the money from selling it, it wasn't even quite enough to cover the engine repair. So the parts are basically make do for now. This crankshaft has a balance shaft. Line the balance shaft up to its mark, then lock it in place. An M6 bolt will do, because the balance shaft and crankshaft need to be timed to each other. Then on the crankshaft side, look at this triangle mark. It also needs to line up, because this is different from other engines. On other engines, the crankshaft and balance shaft are on the same side, so you just line up the marks. But on this engine, the balance shaft sits in the lower crankcase, and the crankshaft sits in the upper crankcase. Once the positions line up, you just close the case halves together. Snug the bolts down in a crisscross pattern first, then torque them to the standard spec. Honda's 4-cylinder models, honestly, aren't hard to work on at all. Their internal structure is essentially the same. If you know how to rebuild a Honda 650, you know how to rebuild this one. It's really just the 1000 cubic centimeters version. It has a balance shaft, but the overall layout is very similar. The oil pan was also cleaned in the ultrasonic cleaner. This oil pan here, it should be aluminum alloy. As for this baffle plate, Honda's original design also used a split, removable structure, but they later dropped it. I set it up this way to make cleaning and installation easier, so I just split it apart and did it that way. Once it's taken apart, the whole engine's layout looks even more like the Honda 650. You could almost say the structure is identical. In other words, the Honda 650 is essentially a scaled-down version of this engine. An engine built for the mass consumer market. Just look at the structure in here. The 650's idler shaft supports the clutch. Doesn't it look exactly like this one? Everyone says domestic bikes are just cash grabs, but imported bikes get revised too. This engine got another update in 2008. They switched over the ignition, and the cam case structure changed as well. For the small stuff, the owner said just make do. It's not like he rides it every day anyway. In 2008, aside from that, the piston was changed to a forged one, and the cylinder bore was redesigned with a ceramic coating. At the same time, output was upgraded to 175 horsepower. After that came updates in 2010, 2012, and 2017, and finally another update in 2020. The 2020 update was a major one, up to now. You could call it a complete rebirth, because it changed configuration entirely. The top spec version puts out 218 horsepower, while the 17 to 19 model made 192. So take a look, everyone, at the update history of Honda's flagship sport bike. Released in 2004, updated all the way through 2020. 16 years of continuous updates and refinement. All of that takes accumulated experience. Now it's 2026. And domestic leader-class sport bikes still haven't hit the market. The one that's supposedly coming is also planned for next year. But who knows if it'll get delayed. We'll just have to wait and see. Once it actually does launch, it'll count as the first domestic leader-class sport bike. So can domestic bikes really pull off a corner overtake on the competition? How should we understand that? From my point of view, if you're talking about the manufacturing side of parts production, sure, a lot of detours can be skipped. But an outright overtake? Not quite. Some of today's machining equipment, materials, and process technology really have improved massively compared to before. And you can just adopt them directly. But when it comes to manufacturing experience and technical accumulation, you can't achieve a real overtake there. Not to mention anything else. Just take motorcycles in general. How many years has Honda been doing this? How many years has this particular engine been refined for? Especially at the tuning level. Let's just take the fuel injection system as an example. Japan has Keihin and Mikuni, Denso and Mitsubishi. Now look at what we've got. We use a Bosch ECU. And that alone gets marketed as a selling point. And Bosch isn't even a domestic company. So the way I see it, the gap in motorcycles is kind of like the gap in computers or phones. Hardware-wise, most of it isn't lacking. But for phone CPUs, we're still a bit behind. It's the same as an engine's clutch plates. And bearing shells, we're honestly a bit behind there too. And the real equivalent is the operating system. That would be like the motorcycle's fuel injection system is like Android on the phone side versus Apple's iOS. So what do we have? See, it's the same story, isn't it? Alright, since you've made it this far, if you like this kind of video, give it a like. Right now, among domestic inline-4 sport bikes, the largest displacement is probably Kshimotor's 921. I won't even get into its failure rate. That engine is actually MV Agusta's 920 engine. The second largest displacement inline-4, the 800, is again a bored-out version of the Honda 650. So really, does domestic bike manufacturing need accumulated experience? And does it, in a word, still need improvement? Absolutely, no question about it. So domestic brands still have a long road ahead. But it'll definitely keep getting better. Alright, it's assembled, let's give it a try. As long as everything's in order. No issues with fuel, electrics, or ignition, this engine will start 100% of the time. Alright, sounds normal. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.